Hello everyone, welcome to the channel where I jack of the trades. In this video, I'll go over replacing a rotted wood floor in a metal shed, plus tips and tricks on how to prevent it from happening again. And if it does, you won't have to remove the shed to replace that rotted plywood. So let's get to it. Here's a quick illustration on how I'm going to do it. Please note, this is a 8 by 10 metal shed and it is extremely light compared to a wooden shed. This concept will still work, but you'll have to reinforce the items used in this procedure. First, I'm going to lift the shed. Then I'm going to put 2x4s with wheels under the shed. Lower the shed down onto the 2x4s, secure it with screws, then roll it out of the way. Once it's out of the way, I'll replace the rotted plywood floor. Then roll the shed back in place. Remove the screws holding the shed to the 2x4s. Lift the shed back up. Remove the 2x4s. Then lower the shed back down. Here's the first tip for you. This shed is about 8 years old. If you want your shed to last a long time, paint it as soon as you put it up. Or you can paint the panels before you assemble the shed. Don't wait. I painted this the same color of the house a long time ago and it still looks good. I wish I could say the same for the floor inside. I already moved everything out of the shed, so let's take a look at the floor. This is what happens to 3/4 pressure treated plywood, so don't use this, people. See what happens to it? Now I've been doing some research and I came across this product right here. This is 3/4 Avantech subflooring. It's supposed to be water resistant. Here's how it looks when water hits the subfloor. The water doesn't absorb into the board. It just sits there. I paid $35 a sheet at Lowe's. Not all Lowe's and Home Depots have this in stock, so check before you drive there looking for it. Here's a list of materials I will be using for this project. All the items can be picked up at your local big box store. The size of the wheels you need will be determined by the height of your platform. Any car jack will do. Just make sure it sits on a steady level floor before you use it. It could tip over or roll, causing damage to the shed or cause injury to someone or yourself. So please be careful. Okay, so the first step to this project is to prep the wheels and attach them to the 2x4s. Here I have two flat-free 10-inch tires and two air 10-inch tires. I put the copper pipe in the tire and it's a perfect fit. I cut the pipe to about 17 inches. I think this length will give me good weight leverage. If I was moving a heavy shed, I would use a solid 1/2-inch rod instead of a hollow 1/2-inch copper pipe. I use a pipe cutter to cut the pipe to size. I clamped on a micro clamp 3/4 inches from the edge of the pipe. Then insert a large washer, insert the wheel, insert another large washer, then insert and clamp down another micro clamp. I'll do the same setup for the other 3 tires. Now I attach the tires to the 12 feet 2x4s using the pipe straps. I would have preferred using the straps that you screw down on both sides, but this is what the store had at the time. It'll still work for what I need to get done. Next, I beat the flat end of the pipe, drill a hole, and put a screw in it. This will keep the pipe from sliding out of the straps. Now that that's done, I can set it aside and get the shed ready to roll. For the shed, the first thing is to remove the doors. I need to have access to the screws underneath them. Each door is held up by 4 screws. I remove them, set the door aside, and put the screws back so I don't lose them. Next, I have to remove this threshold to have access to the screws underneath it. I remove the screws. Now I'm going to reattach the threshold to give the shed structural support. I'll go around the perimeter of the shed, removing any screws that is used to attach the shed to the floor. I'll do this inside and outside of the shed. Be careful not to remove any screws that are holding the track together. You can usually see the difference in the screws. They're a lot shorter. Next, I cut the caulk around the shed, and it was ready to get jacked up. To jack it up, I did this one side at a time. I did the front side first, then the back. I screwed a 2x4 to the support beam on the roof of the shed. I set my jack on a 2x6 and screwed it to it. This will give it a wider base and not have it fall on me. Then I measured and cut a 2x4. The distance between the top of the jack to the 2x4 I attached to the beam. I put the 2x4 I cut on top of the jack, raised the jack just enough to put pressure on the 2x4 where it won't fall, then screw it to the 2x4 that is attached to the beam. My jack was level enough that it was not going to tip over when I raised it. I raised it enough to slide my 2x4 with the wheels underneath it. This is what it was looking like. My wheels was not tall enough, so I put something under the wheel to keep the shed off the platform. I screwed the shed to the 2x4. Now I can lower it and do the same thing for the back of the shed. I got the back wheels on. Now it's time to roll it. Here, I'm in back of the shed, and it took little effort to roll the shed out of the way. I was kind of surprised how smooth it rolled. Now that the shed is out the way, we can really see the extent of the damage. Well, I think I'll skip past the removal of this rotted wood and get to the repair. Here's another tip for you. If you're going to build your shed floor out of plywood, get the exact measurement of the shed's footprint. Then build your floor to that exact measurement. When you frame your floor, double the perimeter. On top of the outer edge perimeter, put the PVC 1x tube. This is where you'll attach your shed to. The inside perimeter is where you'll attach your subfloor. Now, because your shed is sitting on top of the PVC and not plywood, if the floor ever rots, you'll be able to replace it without having to move your shed. Here's what the new subfloor looks like. Next, as an added protection, I added drip edge around 3 sides of the shed. I only did 3 sides because this shed has a little slope to it. If water does get in it, it will flow on top of the floor instead of in the seam where it will sit there causing damage. With this done, it's time to roll the shed back in place. I went inside the shed and pushed it back. I got the shed over the platform, but as you can see, it needs to be pushed over. For that, I go inside the shed and unscrew the shed from the 2x4s, then slide it over. I then jack the shed up and remove the 2x4s. With the 2x4 gone and the shed still raised up, it's time to put sealant under the shed, then lower it back down and put 2 screws to keep it from moving. Then jack the back of the shed up and do the same thing for the back. I'm pretty much done at this point. The only thing left to do is hang the doors back up, then check the shed for leaks. If there's no leaks, I can move everything back in. I hope this video helped someone out. If it did, I appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe. That will help me out a lot. So, until the next trade to Jack, peace.